Right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for taking the time to join us today. My name is Calvin Messman, and I'm looking forward to talking about some emerging ad platforms for 2023. We'll be going through a number of different platforms, some of which you are familiar with in the past, but maybe there's some new features and some that maybe you've never taken a chance to walk through before. We'll do a quick introduction to myself. As I said, I'm Calvin Messman. I'm the Senior Director of Solutions here at Adpearance. So I'm overseeing all the teams that are executing all of our services from digital advertising to SEO to social media. I've been at Adpearance for about 11 years and have been eating, sleeping, and breathing digital advertising. So I'm very excited to be able to talk through the different advertising options for you today. As far as our agenda, we'll do a quick intro of who Adpearance is. We're going to talk about YouTube advertising. So a lot of you are probably very familiar with YouTube, but there are some new features for 2023 that we'll talk about. We'll talk about programmatic audio advertising. So it's taking a traditional radio and bringing it over into the digital world. And then we'll talk about the hot topic of TikTok that there's been a lot of buzz around. As I go through today, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A section in your Zoom client here, and we'll make sure we'll circle back at the end and answer any questions that you have. So for those of you who haven't met us before, Adpearance, we're a digital marketing agency obsessed with your performance. And I think there's one of the things that we do a little bit different than most folks is we're tracking performance all the way from the very first search or the very first ad impression all the way to the final sale. Want to make sure that we can tie back everything that we're doing, tie everything that we're doing back to a final sale and prove as much ROI as possible. We have some personalized. We have a personalized service in that we have a digital strategist who is dedicated to your account. No ticketing system, no 2-week wait times for somebody to get back to you. A one-to-one relationship where our strategist is going to know the ins and outs of your business. And last but not least, winning technology. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Four Eyes in the past, but that was an original Adpearance invention. And every month we're spending about $250,000 in different types of A/B testing, whether it be new platforms or different settings within existing platforms, to make sure that we are always pushing the envelope in innovation and outperforming the competition. So we step into YouTube advertising. Some high-level components of it is why are we talking about this? Why is it important? Is that YouTube is able to reach about 85% of all online users. So that's reaching more US adults than some of the major TV networks like the ABCs, the CBSs. If you think about it and you think about yourself, is we go to YouTube for everything, to watch funny videos, to get how-tos, to you look at car reviews. Whatever it may be, YouTube is a major portion of our life. We're doing that on our laptops, we're doing it on our mobile devices, we're doing it on our connected TVs. Another important thing is that Google released a study that said 69% of folks who purchase a vehicle and use YouTube in that buying process were influenced by what they saw on YouTube. So, as they're going through the looking at reviews of a new Grand Cherokee or a Toyota Tundra, they're being influenced, and when those advertisements are serving to them before the video, before the review video shows, if it's your dealership, they're going to remember you, they're going to come to you. And so it not only is it a way to reach a lot of people, it's actually making an impact on them. And last but not least, it's a high volume for a very low cost. There are some platforms out there that have $40, $50, $80 CPMs. You can advertise in YouTube for about $10 to $15 CPM. And so you get a lot of reach, a lot of volume for a relatively low cost. The offerings that we're going to talk about today, and there's 3 primaries. One of them is new. Is on the left-hand side is our traditional YouTube. What we think about when we've been doing it for years is that you go to youtube.com, you go to the YouTube app, and you're served up ad creative before or during the video that you're watching. This has been the primary staple for a very long time. There's different ad formats of 6-second non-skips all the way up to 30-second, 60-second skippable ads. And then this is where we get the really low CPMs, about $5 to $15. There is another offering that people don't talk about very often, which is the YouTube Select TV. And this is when users are watching premium content on YouTube. So YouTube takes all of the videos, the millions and billions of videos that they have, and they narrow it down to just the top 5% of most popular content that is being consumed. And they just show this on TV screens. And so, YouTube for a very long time was trying to figure out how do we fit into the CTV space, into the connected TV space, and how do we compete with the Hulus of the world and the major live TV platforms. And for the longest time, all they had was the ability to show their YouTube videos, the ones that are previously uploaded, these kind of non-live videos, exclusively show them on a CTV device. So what I mean by that is instead of allowing a user to watch it on their mobile device, they're just allowing it to show on TV screens. And that was their solution for a very long time of hey, we're playing in the CTV space, we're competing with the Hulus of the world, but it wasn't really CTV advertising, at least in my opinion. Until very recently, Google has now solved for that problem, is that they now have the live TV YouTube. So this is, we've all probably seen YouTube TV. You go to it, you get to choose your favorite shows, watch your live sports. It's a true live, very equivalent to a cable television service. And for the longest time, those ads placements were reserved to just the national players, the State Farms, the Allstates, and the OEMs who are showing their commercials. But at the beginning of this year, YouTube opened this up, and now you're able to serve your creative, your local dealer-specific creative, on live YouTube TV. So that's huge, and we know that a lot of dealers are really interested in serving on that platform, and so now this is widely available. You can go through Adpearance or a number of other agencies out there to access this premium content. The only piece that I'll call out, the only caveat to it, is that the targeting is a little more broad than some of the traditional YouTube we've been doing. It goes down to the DMA level only. So we're very used to targeting down to a zip code level on our traditional YouTube and on our select CTV. But in the live version, it goes to DMA only. So if you are a dealer who is in a very populous area, a big metro, this is going to make a lot of sense for you. You're probably used to showing in your DMA. If you're more rural, this solution may work for you depending on your DMA, but we know that some of them are pretty expansive. So we just want to make sure that you're cognizant of that the targeting, the geo-targeting is a lot wider. When we talk about the CPMs of this, it does get up into those premium pricings. So, we know that the Hulus of the world are in the $40, $50 range. Some of the other live services like the Slings might be in the $30 range. Depending on where you are, what networks you're showing on, time of day, all of those things, your CPMs are going to be in the range of $20 to $50. But the beauty here is that you'll be able to go to your YouTube TV app, load up your live television, watching the basketball game, and during the commercial breaks, you're seeing your actual creative and your content. We want to talk about the funnel of video advertising. Is that a lot of people have traditionally thought that the video advertising is very awareness, very high funnel. You can't take any real action or get any engagement out of folks. But YouTube has solved for that. They've allowed us to move further down into the funnel, and Adpearance and other agencies have layered on technologies and strategies on top of that to really get users to interact and engage with the content. So at the top of the funnel, there's branding focused YouTube advertising. So this is just to think about the very generic evergreen, come down, visit us today, high level brand awareness. But you can move down that funnel into the engagement by deploying some dynamic inventory video creative. And that dynamic inventory video creative is going to have the actual inventory that you have in the lot, some of the pricing, the stock counts that you have, and it really starts to engage the user and get them to try to take action, or with the goal of getting them to take action right away. You want to click through, go see your inventory, see your pricing, see what you have, and eventually come down and purchase from you. We're going to highlight some of the dynamic inventory video advertising here. What this looks like is is a pretty simplistic video. We started out with your logo, with any of the sales promotions that are going on. It's really important to capture attention right out of the way, right out of the gate, and let the user know exactly who you are, where you're located, what the promotion is, what the event is. From there, we move into showing model-specific information. So again, we'll feature your dealer logo, but now we're honing in on the particular model that you have in stock. We'll tell how many vehicles you have, what the starting out price, what the savings off MSRP. This is going to vary a little bit by OEM, just depending on from a compliance standpoint, what you can feature and what you can't. But we're moving away from the high level branding and into taking immediate action. We're only going to be serving these ads, model specific ads, to folks who we know are in market to purchase. So they've either been to your website before, or we know that they have been doing research online looking for that particular piece of inventory. And when we deploy these types of ads over traditional branding ads, we see a couple of call outs. Is that one, we see about a 1.4 times higher view through rate. So users are watching these videos all the way through. In YouTube, oftentimes you have the opportunity to skip the ad. And so, there's going to be folks who are not interested, they're going to skip through. But when we deploy this type of video, we're seeing that they're staying longer, they're actually watching through, and they're paying attention. But the biggest piece is that we're seeing double the click-through rates. So as the video is playing, or at the end of the video, they are clicking through and going to your website to browse that particular piece of inventory. So this is a real game changer from traditional video just being something that is kind of a passive action. I watch the video and I'll go to the website later, to I'm watching the video, I'm ready to engage, I'm ready to go to a website right now. One thing that I'll call out is that we keep it at the model level versus the VIN level. There are some restrictions in YouTube that only allow us to target certain audience sizes. We can't get down to one-to-one targeting. So, can't show Bill the exact 3 vehicles that he looked at and show Sally the exact 3 that she looked at. If anybody out there is saying that is possible, it's not. So, we always like to be very transparent in that we keep it at the model level because that's as small of an audience that we can get. And so what we do is we take the collection of the Bills and the Sallys that all looked at one particular model, and we serve an ad of that model with your total stock count, starting out price, and savings off MSRP. We talked about who we're targeting. There's 2 primary audiences that we focus in on. Is we're prospecting for net new customers, and so these customers are a little bit higher in the funnel, and there's a few different ways in which we go about it. We target users who have previously performed ready-to-buy model-related searches in Google. So they've gone to Google, they've searched for a Honda Civic for sale. We can bucket them into an audience and then serve them this YouTube creative. We target people that are deemed to be in market based on some of their past search history and things they've done online. When they've been to certain automotive websites, they've been browsing the internet for that Honda Civic. They get bucketed into an audience interest segment. And then last but not least, we target similar to remarketing. So these are going to be folks who have matched similar online profiles to your past website visitors. And so your collection of website visitors, people who are coming and browsing your inventory, they have a certain set of characteristics and demographics. And so our system will go look at those characteristics and demographics and go find net new audience members who are browsing the web who match all of those characteristics. And we've really seen over the last few years that the similar to remarketing audiences have started to perform very well. We feel like YouTube and Google as a whole is getting pretty laser focused on matching similar profiles. When we move further down into the funnel, we target previous website visitors. So these are going to be folks who have been to your website, they've looked at VDPs, they've looked at a particular make and model. They're going to get bucketed into an audience to be later served an inventory ad with that make and model. And then last but not least, the third bucket of audiences, this one's generally a lot smaller, but it's going to be something that we're going to be leaning into as we move forward into a privacy first world. We're going to need to be leveraging our first party data. And you're sitting on a CRM with a whole bunch of contacts in it. All of your past customers that have purchased from you, maybe it's time for them to come back and purchase again, or maybe they purchased and we want to serve up some very specific parts and service creative. We need to start leveraging this list of your past customers, uploading them into the platform and targeting them with very specific creative. So lots of different options in the way in which we can reach folks and target folks. And all of them, some perform better than others. Some are finite size lists, like the customer match and remarketing. You can only target to the people who have previously been to your website. That list isn't that large. And then there's some other opportunity for us to feed the funnel, get more folks into your website, get more folks engaged. And so a really good full funnel marketing strategy as far as who we're targeting. So when we talk about the campaign structure, you're looking at a lot of these similar audiences, the same audiences we were seeing on the last page. But the piece that I want to call out here is that we're going to segment those audiences into multiple different campaigns. That gives us a lot of control. Historically, we know that your remarketing audience has been the best performing. Those are the lowest funnel folks. And so we're going to make sure that we're exhausting that list before we move on to the next audience type. And by us breaking out these into multiple different campaigns, gives us that control to maximize the budget for your remarketing, move on to custom intent, move on to audience interest, and then lastly into your similar remarketing. So if you're executing on YouTube advertising today and all of this is combined into one campaign, you may be missing out on some opportunity because we want to always make sure that we're maximizing your remarketing audiences first. When we talk about some of the dynamic video campaign structure, we just focus on 2 of those audiences. So the previous one was with all of our audiences that we can target. When we talk about this dynamic video solution, we really just lean into the remarketing and custom intent because we know that those are the lowest funnel users. Those are the users who are moving past the general browsing stage and they're ready to take action. And so by honing in on just those 2 audiences, we can maximize your budget, be most efficient with your budget, and get you the most engagement and the most conversions out of it. But you'll see here, when we break down from our primary campaign level down into our ad groups, as we were talking about before, we target by the model. And so we're going to serve a Volkswagen Atlas ad, just folks who have been to a website and looked at Atlases. We're going to serve a Tiguan ad, just folks who have been Google searching for Tiguans. So hyper relevant to what they're searching for. So in addition to folks that are taking action right away when they're seeing that YouTube video, there's another value point that we want to talk about here is that we know, you've probably seen it tons of times before, Google and all of the major players have released these types of studies, that there are dozens of digital touch points that a user is going to take prior to a final purchase. And so you see sometimes it's 100 different digital touch points, or they're in the final week, there's 29 different digital touch points that they're taking before they purchase. A lot of those touch points are going to be in YouTube. And so, as a user is going through their buying journey and they're honing in, should I buy this one or this one? They're looking down at very specific trim features, and they're going to be watching YouTube videos about those features. And so if you can serve your ad to them right before they're ready to make the decision on what dealer to go to, you're going to set yourself up for success. And so what we see is that a user who gets an initial YouTube impression, so they see your dynamic creative, and then they go on for their customer journey, eventually to go to Google and search. Those folks who are going to Google and searching after seeing one of your YouTube ads, they have a 31% higher click-through rate. They're going to engage with that ad much more often than somebody who's never seen one of your videos before. And it's going to result in about a 16% lower cost per lead. And so again, the folks who are coming, switching for a make, model, lease, or Dodge dealer near me, or whatever it may be, if they've been previously exposed to your ad and know your brand name, they're going to see your ad, they're going to click on it much more often. Once they get to your website, they're much more likely to submit a form, a chat, or call you. And so, we've been able to kind of close the loop here, in that traditionally you would only talk about hey, we got this many eyeballs on your YouTube creative, and that was the end of it. Now we're moving to, we got this many eyeballs, here's how many people clicked through and engaged with the content, and also here's how many people at a later date went to Google and searched for you and ultimately came through and submitted a lead. Okay, so now we'll move over to programmatic audio advertising. So this is a great blend of traditional radio, which everybody is familiar with, and the world of digital advertising. So what do we mean by programmatic audio is you know, you probably have an Alexa or Google Home, or you have CarPlay or Android Auto. You know, think about all of the different places in which you're consuming audio. It's happening everywhere, and it's happening more and more for the younger demographic. You know, folks who are 20 to 25 years old are much less likely to listen to traditional radio and much more likely to go to one of their apps and listen to Spotify or you know, YouTube Music or whatever it may be. And so what we're able to do is use the same power of all of our digital advertising targeting, get really honed in on audiences, but serve an audio ad, you know, in the either before, during, or after whatever they're listening to. And so, you know, here is just an example is you know, traditional radio ad is that, you know, we have the inventory that you're looking for. Here's our stock counts, our prices can't be beat. Here's our clearance event that's happening, and come by our dealership today. In traditional radio, you would deploy this, your radio broadcaster would give you estimates of how many people are listening in. And after that, it's very hard to track. You know, we know that some folks go and look at Google Analytics and see, hey, are there spikes in my traffic when my radio ad is playing, and trying to make correlations, but you're never going to be able to hone in on that. You're never going to be able to get that visibility. But with programmatic audio, we can actually track that information. We know who we're showing to. Did they come back to the website? Did they convert? And so we're going to talk through some of that here. Some of the other high level benefits that I touched on a couple of these, but you know, we can get really targeted on our in-market audiences. We can remarket to folks who have previously been to your website, serve them specific audio creative. We can leverage cross-channel experiences. So you can serve an ad on a podcast, you can serve an ad on Spotify, you can serve it on Pandora, any of the you know, any of the platforms that folks are listening to as they switch between different platforms, they're going to hear your creative. The other piece is that you know, we can know who listened to a radio ad, and then we can serve them display ads later or video ads later. And so you can really start to stitch together that full customer journey and make sure that you're there across all of those touch points. We know, as I mentioned, 18 to 34-year-olds are listening to 2 times more content than other age groups. So if we're trying to get that next cohort of customers, building those lifelong customers, this is where they're at. And then last but not least is premium placement. So we're not just serving at 2 a.m. on some random audio file. We're serving while folks are listening to streaming music in the afternoon. They're listening to their podcasts on their way into work, and everywhere in between. So when we talk about the different ad types and some of the placements, I mentioned, you know, we're able to serve on all of the major players, the Spotify's, iHeartRadios, TuneIns, across the entire ecosystem. And there are different ad types that can play. So pre-roll, you know, the ad is playing right before the song starts or the podcast starts. We can have mid-rolls, which, you know, as you take a break during the podcast and you hear some content. And then post, once something concludes, we can serve an audio ad. And also for folks that are on digital devices, show a display ad so they can click through and take action right away. So this is a good strategy for, you know, if we're really trying to engage folks and get them to click through, we can accompany it with a display banner that gives details about, you know, whatever the incentive is, whatever the promotion is, and get them to click through and take action on your website. When we talk about our targeting, there is a lot of different options in that we can leverage your CRM. So any folks who had purchased from you before, you know, I always think about fixed ops and trying to get them in for service. We can do retargeting, people that have previously been to your website, create lookalike audiences and custom segments based on what type of information do they listen to, what type of things do they do online. And we can also get very specific on things like geo-radius targeting. So imagine you can set a radius maybe a couple of miles away from your dealership on the major highways, and as folks are driving through that, they're now eligible to be served your audio ad. And so you think that as they're driving down the freeway, they enter into this area, they get served your ad. Hey, we're just a couple miles down the road, stop by. So lots excuse me, lots of different options. And last but not least here, we can do some whitelisting or PMP targeting, which allows us to, if we know there's a specific channel or a specific podcast that we want to be showing on, we can target that, similar to how you do with some traditional radio. As far as our reporting, I talked about the traditional radios that estimates of how many people you showed to, whereas with programmatic audio, we're able to get things like the exact number of times that we serve the creative and how many times each individual person heard it. We can tell how many people are starting it and skipping through, or how many people are completing it. But the real value is that we can go beyond the initial audio play. So how many folks listened to your creative and then eventually came to your website, and how many folks listened to your creative and eventually submitted a lead? And this is the information that we all really care about. And this is the information that is very hard to get with some of those other traditional forms of advertising. And so I'm going to take in here and just show you a little bit of what this looks like. Is that when we have an impression tracker. It's called an impression tracker. It's a little 1x1 pixel that sits on the audio file or in the video file, and it tracks a bunch of information about that user. We then have a script that's placed on your website that is essentially listening. It's listening for that user to come to your site, and when they do, and we match up the characteristics or the digital profile of that person, we now track them all the way through their website visit and their eventual form submission or their eventual call. And we can show you very specific information about them, their name, their email address, their phone number. So it's really, really powerful. But when we look at it on a roll-up, what we're seeing here is that this is just an example of one of our customers that they, out of all of their website visitors in the last 30 days, about 1.9% of their visitors were exposed to a programmatic audio ad. So, you think this is budget driven. If you're spending $1,000, you're probably going to be serving to a small audience. If you're spending $10,000, you're going to be serving to a lot of them. And so this particular dealer serves to about 1.9% of all of their website visitors. But what we saw on the bottom here is that the OTT visitors were responsible for 3.1% of their web leads. And so what this tells us is that this 1.9% of traffic is driving 3.1% of their leads. And so similarly, how I was saying earlier with YouTube is once a user gets served a video creative, they're much more likely to come to your website, click through the ad, come to your website and submit a form. We see it with programmatic audio and programmatic video as well, is that users are, once they're exposed to that audio file, they hear about you, they hear about the promotions, and they eventually make it to your website. They are much more likely to submit a web lead than the rest of the audience who's never been exposed to it. And so, when we're trying to talk about some of these higher level advertising strategies that traditionally have been awareness plays, top of funnel, not a lot of tracking, we're breaking down those barriers and we're able to actually report the success of them to you. And so this is a huge opportunity to really start to prove some ROI behind what you're doing from an awareness and a top of funnel play. As I said before, is that you can start to expose some information. This has been redacted for privacy here, but this is what I'm talking about, is that not only is it a roll up of you got 50 website visitors and 10 forms, we're actually able to show you what's the name, what's their phone number, what's their email address, so that you can track this through in your CRM. And if these people ever purchase, you can start to apply some of that return on investment, and do some return on investment calculations and and really apply a true ROI to your advertising. So this is, I would say that there are maybe a couple of other companies out there who are doing something similar to this, but this is some pretty cutting edge stuff and pretty slick. Any dealers that we've had who have been on this really enjoy this extra visibility. So we've talked about TikTok advertising. It's been all the rage over the last year or so. I think a lot of every single day the TikTok audience is growing larger and larger. You hear of some folks who are no longer using Facebook or no longer using Instagram and solely using TikTok. And so we know that there's a massive audience out there. We know that there's a younger demographic there as well. So if we're trying to, as I said earlier, trying to build that cohort of lifelong customers, that next cohort of them, targeting TikTok and making sure that your brand is there is going to be very important. And so you think, why should I be on TikTok? What's all the rage about? Is that just as I said, more than 1 billion active users each month. That's global, but we know that 70% of them are under 40 years old. We're able to boost awareness in that it's really inexpensive for us to get a lot of video impressions and a lot of unique individual users who have been targeted and served creative. TikTok allows us to be a little bit more personalized. I think if you're a TikTok user, if you've been on it, there's a lot of funny videos, a lot of people that it's not really such a buttoned up environment, a lot more natural feel. And it allows us to do some things that we traditionally wouldn't do in things like Facebook or Instagram or YouTube advertising, a little bit different spin and a little bit more personalized. And then last but not least, it's a great place for education. So, there's a lot of people that are watching cooking videos or how-to videos or short little tips and tricks. And we've seen dealers have great success in highlighting some of the benefits on a new vehicle, talking about, how does the fireplace work on the new Wagoneer or here's some tips and tricks that you can do with your voice activated system. These types of things are piquing interest of users and getting some folks who are not even in market to buy to see some of those new features, some of those new cool ideas and actually reach out to the dealership and come in and purchase. So when we talk about the strategy, this is the biggest piece is, okay, I want to do TikTok, but how do I even get started? How do I serve videos? What videos should I be doing? There are 3 different types of creative that we see dealers participating in. And one of them is paid content. So this is, there are content creators who are TikTok influencers, have a big following, that live in your markets. They're all over the United States. You can hire one of those folks to come out to your dealership, do some videos. Maybe it's a test drive, or maybe it's just a car fanatic and there's a big event that's going on. They will film all day at your location, make a whole bunch of different videos that then you can leverage. Another one is in-house content. So this is much more laid back, organic, and informal. And generally who's doing this is somebody at your dealership, right? You have a marketing manager or your sales staff is producing videos. And these types of things are like featured inventory. Here's what we got on the lot. We just got these new 8 models, come check them out. It's vehicle feature highlights, like I talked about. Here's some tips and tricks of how to use, this particular feature in the car. We've seen dealers who are doing some service bays, just talking about how they have availability, come in today. You don't have to wait 2 weeks to get your vehicle serviced. And so this one is done all in-house and all by your team members. And then last but not least is vendor produced content. So things that we would do, we Adpearance and other vendors is this is more promotional about the current sales event that is happening, using B-roll from the OEM. And these are a little bit more buttoned up and similar to what we're doing in the Facebooks and in the YouTubes of the world. Out of all 3 of these, the one that we see being the most successful is this in-house content. And the reason for it is that the whole vibe of TikTok is more natural, more informal, and really peeling back the layers of the onion so that the user can see who you are at the dealership. They can see that you guys, you have personality, you have fun sales staff. You guys are it's not seen as this kind of scary, scary professional entity, and more of just, hey, we're people, and come down and check out our cars, and we'll have a good conversation with you. And so it really breaks down some of those barriers and shows that buying a car doesn't have to be a scary experience, and not all salespeople are mean guys or whatever it may be. So the other ones can be effective, but dealers who have really leaned into this and have a dedicated person at their staff producing the videos have seen the most success. There are a lot of different ad types. So TikTok has given so many different options of where you can show your creative, but the number one, and the one I'm just going to talk about today, are these Spark ads. So what these are is you upload your content to your TikTok channel, whether that is your in-house produced one, somebody that a content creator did, or even that your vendor did. You upload that to your channel, you're going to start to get natural views, right? You're going to get people who are following you, who come across you, as they're scrolling through their feeds, and they're going to see your creative. But you can take that and you can essentially put it on steroids with some advertising budget, and you can promote that post and get it out to a lot of different audiences, in-market audiences who are ready to buy, auto fanatics, some of your past, your current followers and past customers. So we've seen that out of all of these ad types, tested a number of these, and we've seen that these Spark ads are far and away the best performing. And if you're just getting started, this is where you should start. As far as the targeting goes, as I said, it's that we can include custom audiences, previous website visitors, people that if you've ever used TikTok, I'm sure when you created your profile, you noticed that it asked you a bunch of questions. Say, what type of videos do you want to see? What are your interests? Do you like this? Do you like that? You fill out essentially a survey, and it creates a profile for you that they can then leverage to serve you relevant content, but to also serve relevant ads to you. And so a lot of people say, I'm a car enthusiast. I love all things about vehicles, or I'm a gearhead. I'm a DIYer. All sorts of different audience selections that they make. We can target those folks. We can target people who are followers of your page or remarketing. We can also target users just based upon their genders, their age, their location. So, if we want to broaden our reach a little bit and get to a wider audience in the community, we can segment by some of these demographics here. We can target users based on some of their recent app behaviors. If they've been searching for certain things in the app or consuming a lot of particular content, we can do that. And then last but not least, we have the ability to segment by the device settings. And so an example of this is that this is more of a brand safety play, is that you might have somebody who has poor cell service or is on a 3G network and the videos are buffering. You don't want to waste your spend on that. You want to make sure that you're serving to somebody who's going to have a good video experience. And so we can start to remove certain connection types, if they have low bandwidth or low connection, or if for whatever reason there's a particular device model that we know is having trouble serving your video, we can exclude that. So allows us to just be a more efficient with the budget. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time today. I appreciate it, and I wanted to leave you with this one last piece here, is that if you're ever interested in learning more about these tactics, I know this is pretty high level today. We can dive in super deep into one of these tactics and roll up our sleeves, get very specific. Or if you're interested in just learning more about anything digital advertising, Adpearance loves to have these conversations. We see ourselves as an educator in the space, and so reach out to us. We'd love to walk you through a digital marketing analysis to see how you're doing versus your competition, or just have a conversation about digital marketing as a whole. I'm going to leave the webinar going here for just a minute or so more. If there's any questions that anybody has, feel free to drop them into the Q&A. Other than that, I greatly appreciate you taking the 40 minutes today, and hope you have a great rest of your week.